You're going to want to read this over the weekend. Son, it's nothing personal. That's what her dad said, while handing me a goddamn prenup like it was a dinner menu. Let me back up. This whole mess started about 5 years ago. I was 28, just out of the Marines, broke as hell, and working security shifts at shitty construction sites across Austin. My diet back then was canned beans and gas station burritos. I slept 4 hours a night and thought financial planning meant knowing exactly when you could afford new socks. Then Emily walked into my life like she'd been dropped from some southern rom-com. Blonde, yoga-toned, wicked laugh. She was magnetic. She made me feel like maybe I wasn't just a busted-up veteran with nothing to offer. We met at a local fundraiser, her family's fundraiser. Actually, the Prescotts. Their old money Austin. Think legacy bank accounts. Seasonal gala invites. Christmas cards from governors. I had no clue who they were at first. I thought her dad Wayne was a car dealership guy or something. Nah. Dude basically owns half of Hill Country's mortgage infrastructure. Anyway, she flirted first. That should have been the red flag. We hit it off fast. She liked my confidence, my stories from overseas. The edge she said I had. I liked her legs and her laugh, but mostly I liked how she made me feel like I wasn't constantly drowning. We moved in together within 6 months. Looking back, that was dumb. But when you've been shot at, you don't second-guess much anymore. You just go with what feels right. I was grinding hard, then working day security and night shifts doing freelance private security contracts. She taught Pilates a few mornings a week and volunteered at the Prescott Family Foundation. We didn't have money, but we had fun. Cooked cheap dinners, drank boxed wine, watched bad Netflix shows while lying on a mattress on the floor. That kind of broke love that makes you think, yeah, we'll make it. 1 year in, I proposed simple setup, just us, backyard, string lights I borrowed from my buddy's garage, no ring box. I used a keychain tin from an old MRE. She cried, said yes, said it was perfect. Then came the first slap in the face. Her dad invited me over the next week, said he wanted to talk logistics. I walked into their mansion smelling like drywall and coffee. Her mom, Clarissa, offered me lemon water like I'd just come in from mowing their lawn. And then he did it. He slid the envelope toward me. Thick as hell. Legal name. High-grade paper. Even had a little crest on the corner, like a damn wedding invitation. Just some formality. You understand, right? My brain did a backflip. I was like, WTF is this happening? I flipped through it, page after page, basically saying, if Emily and I ever split, she walks away with everything. I get nothing. No house, no cars, no claims, no rights, nada. Just my own income, which at the time was about enough to keep me in gas and ramen. I was pissed. Not because I expected anything from them, but because it told me exactly how they saw me as a fucking liability. I took that contract home and stared at it for hours. Emily saw it. She tried to laugh it off. Babe, it's just my dad being protective. It doesn't change how I feel. It didn't have to change how she felt. It changed how I saw everything. Still, I signed it. Why? Because I loved her. Because I believed love was bigger than money. Because I didn't want to be the guy who let a contract ruin a future. That was the dumbest shit I ever believed. A year later, I started my own side hustle, real estate. At first, it was just helping my buddy watch over a duplex his uncle owned. Then it was helping another investor get security cams installed. Then one asked if I'd help manage short-term rentals. I figured, screw it, I'll learn. So while Emily was at Gallus, sipping wine with bored rich ladies, I was crawling under houses at 2 a.m., fixing busted plumbing for Airbnb guests. My back ached. My hands bled. I read contracts during my lunch breaks and watched how to flip houses YouTube videos while meal prepping chicken thighs. Emily thought I was obsessed. Why are you killing yourself like this? She asked once, while painting her nails. We're fine. No, she was fine. I was still grinding like I owed the world money. 2 years in, everything changed. One of my properties got picked up in a viral travel blog. Bookings exploded. Then another investor approached me, then another. Next thing I knew, I had 5 properties under management and was being offered equity in 3 more. By year 3, I had my LLC, a 2-person team, and something close to a real life. I upgraded our apartment, took Emily to Maui, paid off my mom's truck, started dressing better, started walking different. The Prescotts noticed. Wayne started calling me son. Clarissa suddenly had respect. Emily kept saying things like, "We should really revisit that prenup sometime." I shrugged it off. But the truth, that contract haunted me. It was always there between us. A quiet reminder that they never thought I'd become anything. And now they wanted to pretend it didn't exist. That was the beginning of the shift, of me seeing things for what they really were. That prenup wasn't just a document, it was a mirror. And they were finally uncomfortable with the reflection. Last winter, Emily started acting different. Not in a soap opera. She's gone crazy way. Just colder, distracted. She stopped asking about my projects, stopped showing up to my client events, didn't even repost the photo of the duplex we flipped together. Instead, she'd scroll Zillow during dinner and say shit like, "You ever think we could do better than a 2-bedroom, Your company's killing it now." I'd laugh it off. "We're fine where we are. Slow and steady, babe." She'd go quiet, then say something like, "It just feels weird that you own all this property. And technically, I don't own anything. Technically, what?" I'd remind her she wanted the prenup. Or at least, she signed off on it. Her parents pushed for it. I wasn't the one who asked for it. I was the one who ate it with a smile, because I thought love mattered more than fine print. But that's when I started getting this sinking feeling. Like she was circling me. Not in love, not even in hate, just circling, waiting. For what? Though that was the part I couldn't figure out. Then she brought up the cabin. "Let's go this weekend," she said one Thursday night, out of nowhere. We haven't been in a while. The cabin was our quiet place. Her family owned it. Out in the hill country. Beautiful old wood, a deck over the lake. No cell service. We used to love it out there. It was where I proposed. Actually, that's how special it used to be. So I said yes. I thought maybe we could reset. Maybe it was just stress, money, life. I was wrong. The first night was quiet. We cooked. She opened wine. I watched her stare out the window more than she talked. Something was off. The next morning, I woke up to her pacing outside the cabin. On the phone, I couldn't hear much, but I caught a name her dad's, and a sentence that burned straight into my brain: "He just needs to feel like it's his idea." I froze. My stomach flipped. I stayed inside and waited. She came in smiling like nothing happened. That night we sat on the dock. I tried to bring it up gently. "You've been distracted lately." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I've just had a lot on my mind, like the prenup." Silence. Long and brutal silence. Then she looked at me. "Lucas, it doesn't make sense anymore. We're building a life together. But legally, I have no say in anything. That doesn't feel fair." There it was. I leaned back, my jaw clenched. So now that I'm finally not broke, suddenly the prenup's a problem. "Don't do that," she snapped. "This isn't about money. It's about partnership." Bullshit. My gut screamed it. "So you weren't on the phone with your dad this morning, trying to orchestrate something?" Her eyes widened, just for a split second, then hardened. "Were you spying on me?" "I live here too," I said. "You were pacing like you were plotting a heist." She stood up. "This is exactly why we need to talk about this. You don't trust me." "No, I didn't. Not anymore." I said nothing the rest of the night. We went back to Austin the next day. She stayed unusually cheerful. Fake cheerful. Her mom called twice that evening, and she took the calls in the garage. By that point, my suspicions weren't just anxiety. They were facts waiting to surface. So I started digging. I checked our shared credit card. Multiple charges at a boutique baby store downtown. Emily didn't tell me anything about being pregnant. WTF? I checked further spa visits. A bill from some PR agency specializing in influencer family branding. Are you kidding me? I called the agency and pretended I was her assistant. The woman on the phone happily spilled that Emily's pre-motherhood campaign was going great. Excuse me, pre-motherhood? I confronted her that night, straight up. Are you pregnant? She blinked. Why? Because you've been spending thousands preparing for a baby you never mentioned. She hesitated. Lucas, I was waiting for the right time. You're not even showing. She swallowed. It's early. I stared at her. Like imaginary early. That's when she flipped it. You're making this impossible. I wanted to surprise you. I was scared. You're so wrapped up in your business you barely notice me anymore. Oh, please. I didn't even argue, just walked out. A few days later, I got a call from her sister, Rachel. Now, Rachel and I weren't close, but she always seemed more grounded than the rest of the Prescotts. A quiet rebel. I didn't know why she was calling me, but I picked up. Lucas, she said, voice shaking. I don't know if I should be saying this, but you need to protect yourself. My heart sank. She told me she'd overheard a dinner conversation between Emily, their parents, and their family lawyer. They were discussing ways to dissolve the prenup. Apparently, they'd cooked up a plan stage a pregnancy, leak it subtly to the press via the PR firm, start creating the image of a Prescott-Carter family brand, then convince me to mutually dissolve the prenup to reflect our new family future. After that divorce, the moment the prenup's gone and there's a baby or the idea of one, I'm on the hook. Emily gets half, her parents get control of the media spin. I get played. I felt like throwing up. I called my lawyer that night. Thank God for Jess. She's the only person who ever told me, back when I signed the original prenup. You sure you don't want to add a morality clause? At the time, I laughed. She's not like that. Jess added it anyway. A clause that said any attempt to fraudulently manipulate marital agreements using deception, media coercion, or third-party influence would void all future claims. It was written in plain English. Her lawyer probably never thought we'd need it. Guess what? We needed it. I started collecting receipts, credit card statements, email threads from the PR agency, fake sonogram appointment bookings, everything. I didn't confront Emily yet. I needed it airtight. So I smiled, ate dinner with her, nodded when she said baby names like Wren and Sawyer, let her dig her hole. Then, one morning, I casually said we should host a dinner, invite her parents, a celebration of what she asked. You'll see, I said, and kissed her forehead. The night of the dinner, I wore a black button-down. Emily wore white. She was glowing like she'd already won. Her parents were smug, dressed like they were filming a family bank commercial. Toasts were made, wine flowed. Then I stood up. I have a surprise, I said, reaching under the table. I pulled out a manila folder, thick, marked. I handed it to Wayne. He opened it, started flipping through. His face shifted fast, from amused to confused to furious. What is this? He muttered. Emily reached for it. I didn't stop her. In it were invoices from the PR firm, the baby boutique, and a printed transcript of Rachel's statement, not notarized yet, but damning. At the end was a letter from my attorney, reminding them of the morality clause and our intention to press charges if manipulation continued. Emily turned pale. Her mom gasped. Wayne looked like he wanted to throw a steak knife at me. I just sipped my wine. Here's the thing, I said calmly. I'm not a liability anymore, and I sure as hell ain't your puppet. So, moving forward, don't speak to me unless it's through my attorney. I walked out of my own house that night, slept at my office. Next morning, filed for divorce. 2 days later, froze all joint accounts. A week later, had her things packed and delivered to her parents' estate with a single note. Thanks for teaching me the value of paperwork. They tried to call. I blocked them. Rachel, I sent her a bottle of whiskey and a thank you card. Emily never denied anything. She didn't fight in court either. Why? Because I had her cornered. And she knew it. The prenup stood. The clause stood stronger. She walked away with nothing. Me, I walked into silence. Sweet, earned silence. It took less than 48 hours for the Prescotts to launch their counterattack. Not legally they couldn't. My lawyer had seen to that. But socially, they went full throttle damage control. The first hint came when my inbox pinged with a Google alert tied to my name. Prominent Austin investors' sudden divorce raises eyebrows in elite circles. The article didn't name names, but it danced around the edge. Sources say the split was unexpected, and that close friends of the family were concerned about emotional abandonment. It quoted a well-placed family insider who said I had become withdrawn, obsessed with work, and emotionally neglectful. Sound familiar? They were trying to frame me as the asshole who forgot about his wife the second I made money. Classic move. Emily didn't speak publicly, but she didn't have to. Her Instagram went full performance art, black and white photos, long captions about new beginnings, rediscovering peace, and learning to put myself first. Barf? And, of course, the comments were full of her wine-sipping friends, posting heart emojis and, "You deserve better, babe." I didn't respond. Not because I didn't want to. I wanted to scream, wanted to throw my phone into the river, wanted to post every receipt, every lie, every conversation they tried to weaponize against me. But Jess, my lawyer, gave me the best advice I'd heard all year. Let them scream into the void. You're holding the truth, and truth doesn't need PR. So I stayed quiet, blocked all of them on social, didn't give interviews, didn't take bait. Instead, I focused on my company. Because while they were playing games on Instagram, I was signing 2 new deals and onboarding a 7-property portfolio. And then something strange happened. The noise died down. Turns out, if you don't feed drama, it starves. But it wasn't over. Not even close. One Friday afternoon, about 3 weeks after everything blew up, I walked into my office and found Rachel sitting in the lobby. She looked exhausted, hoodie, no makeup, hair in a messy bun. She stood when she saw me. "Can we talk?" she asked. Quietly, I nodded, waved her into my office, shut the door. "I'm sorry," she started, "for everything, for not saying something sooner. You said more than enough." I said, "You saved my ass." She gave a sad little laugh. "Yeah, and burned every bridge in my family while I was at it." She told me Wayne had basically excommunicated her, said she was disloyal and dangerous. Clarissa accused her of choosing some broken veteran over blood. Emily blocked her. "I've been staying at a friend's place," she said, "but I'm done pretending they're decent people. I should have said something way earlier. Lucas, I knew stuff. I just never thought it'd go this far." I didn't know what to say. Honestly, I was still trying to process the fact that she'd chosen the truth over her own family. That takes guts. So I did the only thing that felt right. I stood up, crossed the room, and hugged her. No words, just that. Sometimes silence says what needs saying. That night, alone in my apartment, I finally let myself breathe. The divorce was real, final, no appeals, no drama. The business was growing. Clients trusted me, partners respected me, and yet I still felt hollow. Because when you've built your entire life around someone, even if that someone turned out to be fake, it leaves a crater when they're gone. It wasn't just Emily I lost. It was the idea of us, the nights in the cabin, the wine on the floor. The illusion that I was finally enough for a world that never wanted me. But you know what? That crater started filling, little by little, with truth, with real people, with me finally owning my space without needing their approval. Because here's the wild part. I thought I needed to prove myself to them. Turns out, I just needed to get the hell away from them. Fast forward a month. I'm grabbing coffee downtown when a guy taps my shoulder. He's clean cut, mid-40s. Looks familiar. Turns out he's one of the founding partners of a commercial real estate firm I'd been trying to meet for over a year. Lucas Carter, right? He says. You're the one who pulled out of that Riverwalk deal last minute. I nod, cautious. He grins. Smart move. I didn't. And I'm still dealing with the fallout. Heard you've been flipping smart these days. He hands me a card. Let's talk next week. I've got an opening you might like. Later that night, I looked him up. Multi-million-dollar portfolio, private capital access, clean rep. And he knew me by name. That was the first time I really let it sink in. I wasn't the guy who married up anymore. I was the guy. Meanwhile, word started spreading about the Prescotts. Quietly, behind the curtain. Apparently, Wayne had been bleeding cash for years. Bad investments, shady lending, dumb pride. Clarissa's boutique closed. Emily's lifestyle funded on loans and optics. And then came the big one. Their family foundation was under review for financial irregularities. Rumor was someone filed a complaint with the IRS. Wasn't me. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't smile. Karma doesn't always hit loud. Sometimes. It just peels your reputation off layer by layer until the truth is too raw to hide. Last I heard, Emily had tried launching some kind of influencer rebrand. Healing through heartbreak or whatever. It tanked. She's back in her parents' house. No ring, no house, no brand. And me. I bought the cabin. Yep. After everything. I found out Wayne listed it under one of his LLCs to avoid tax disclosures. Once his business started folding, the property hit the market. I didn't even blink. Offered cash, closed in 2 weeks. The first thing I did was drive out there, sit on that dock, and watch the sun set over the lake. No ring in my pocket this time, no speeches, no wine, just me. And damn, it felt good. I still think about what could have happened. If I'd ignored my gut. If Rachel hadn't spoken up. If Jess hadn't slipped in that clause. Hell, if I'd been just a little dumber, a little more desperate to belong, they would have taken everything. But instead, I got out, and maybe that's the real win. Not the money, not the business. Freedom. Not owing anyone an explanation for my success, not apologizing for the man I became, not chasing their approval like it's air. I don't need their name, or their pity, or their legacy. I've got my own, and it's real. 2 months after the dust settled, just when I thought the chaos was behind me, Rachel called again. It was a Sunday. I was knee-deep in spreadsheets, zoning out to some lo-fi beats and sipping whiskey straight from the bottle. Don't judge. It was that kind of day. My phone buzzed, and I almost didn't answer. But it was her. And after everything she'd done for me, I owed her that much. Hey, I answered, voice rough. Lucas, she said, no small talk. Straight to it. I need to tell you something, and I didn't want to do it over text. My stomach immediately tightened. What's going on? You're not going to like it, but you need to know. She paused, and I heard her breathe hard through the phone. Emily was cheating. For a while. Like, a long while. I didn't say anything. My brain just stopped, she continued. Slower now. The guy's name is Brandon. He's an old friend of the family. Used to work with Clarissa, then started his own fitness company or something. I overheard them talking after one of the foundation galas last year. She told him, and I quote, "Once the prenup's out of the way, we can be together without worrying." I stood up so fast my chair nearly fell backward. My ears were ringing. You sure? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Yeah, she said, voice small now. I thought maybe it ended. But then, last week, I saw his name pop up on her phone at dinner. I confronted her. She freaked, screamed at me, called me a traitor again. I sat back down. Hard. I was shaking and didn't even notice it at first. I had suspected. Hell, I knew in my gut. But hearing it out loud, hearing it confirmed like that was different. That was the kind of rage that doesn't scream, it just sits inside your bones. After we hung up, I sat there for maybe an hour, staring at the wall. No music, no noise. And then I started thinking, not about Emily, not about her family, not even about Brandon. I started thinking about me, about all the nights I stayed up late fixing broken faucets in my rentals, while she was out at yoga, all the moments I worked myself raw just to prove I belonged next to her, when she was already planning her exit strategy. And I laughed, not a bitter laugh, not angry, just this quiet, broken chuckle like, damn. You really tried to build a castle for someone who was digging a tunnel out. A week later, I ran into Brandon. Yeah, for real. I was walking out of a brunch meeting with a developer, and there he was, standing in line at this bougie juice bar downtown, wearing tight joggers and designer sunglasses like he was auditioning to be a side character in a Netflix show. He saw me. His face went stiff. I should have walked away, should have taken the high road. But screw that. I walked right up to him, smiled like I had nothing in the world to lose, and said, "Hey, Brandon, still screwing married women, or are you in your redemption arc now?" His face flushed. "Man, I don't want any trouble." "Relax," I cut him off. "I'm not going to hit you. You're not worth the jail time." Just wanted to put a face to the guy who thought he could outplay a Marine with real estate contracts. He looked like he wanted to sink into the floor. So I leaned in close and said, real quiet, "You didn't just screw over a marriage. Bro, you were part of a setup, a scam. And lucky for you, I kept receipts. So if I ever hear your name again in any part of my business, I'll make sure no lender within 500 miles ever takes you seriously again." "Cool." He nodded, swallowed, didn't say another word. I walked away. And it felt *** king amazing. After that, I let go. Not of the anger, that took time, but of the need to understand, the need to make sense of it. Some people are just broken. They smile while they plan your funeral. They kiss you while they pocket the key to your safe. Trying to figure out why they are the way they are. That's a black hole you don't come back from. So instead, I doubled down on what I could control. I started writing again. Short essays, real stuff, no polished Instagram captions, just raw thoughts about loyalty, money, marriage, betrayal. I didn't publish them at first, just kept them in a folder titled, "For Me." Then Rachel asked to read a few. She texted me an hour later, "You have no idea how many people need this." That's when I realized maybe my story wasn't just some ugly breakup tale. Maybe it was a damn blueprint for someone else. A flashlight for the next guy drowning in red flags and silence. So I started sharing online, anonymously at first, Reddit posts, Medium articles. One of them blew up how my ex tried to weaponize a prenup and lost everything. And suddenly I had thousands of people in my inbox, thanking me, telling me their own stories, asking for advice. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was doing something with the pain. Not just surviving it, owning it. Rachel and I started talking more, too. Weird how trauma bonds people. But it wasn't just that. She was funny. Smart. Not afraid to call me out when I got too dramatic. She'd pop over some nights with tacos and wine, and we'd sit on my balcony talking about life, family, therapy, everything. One night, after too much wine, she looked at me and said, "You ever wonder if we got thrown together for a reason?" I didn't answer. Not right then. But yeah, I'd wondered a lot. By the end of the year, I had tripled my property holdings, sold my first full flip, hired a proper team, started mentoring younger vets looking to transition into entrepreneurship. My name started circulating in the right rooms. I'd show up to networking events and see the guys who used to ignore me suddenly trying to shake my hand. And the best part, I didn't need any of it. Not anymore. Because when you've rebuilt yourself from scorched earth, nothing external really defines you again. I had my own rhythm now, my own rules. No more proving, just living. And that is peace. Real earned, unshakable peace. It was around the holidays when things started hitting a little different. Not in the cheesy, Christmas heals all kind of way. More like everything slowed down just enough that I could finally hear my own thoughts. And some of those thoughts, they weren't nice. One night, I was sitting on the porch of the cabin I bought, the same one where Emily and I had once talked about baby names and growing old. Now it was just me, a blanket, and a cup of coffee gone cold. The stars were stupid bright that night, like they were mocking me with how peaceful everything looked. And it hit me. I'd spent so long fighting to prove I wasn't who they thought I was. I never stopped to ask who I actually am without all that noise, without the battle. Without her, I drove back to my parents' place in Waco for Christmas. First time in years I'd made it home for the holidays. My mom nearly cried. Dad slapped me on the back and said, "About damn time." We sat around the same kitchen table I'd eaten at as a kid, now a little wobblier, still covered in that plastic cloth with the chili pepper print. They made brisket. We drank beer. My younger cousin kept trying to get me to invest in some crypto mining rig. It was chaos. And it was home. Later, my dad and I sat outside by the fire pit. He didn't say much at first. He's not a words guy. But after a while, he said, "Heard about the divorce." I waited. He took a sip of his beer and added, "Took guts not to fold. I'm proud of you." I didn't realize how much I needed to hear that until it left his mouth. My throat got tight. "Thanks," I said. "Means a lot." He nodded. "You always did things the hard way. Stubborn as hell, but you don't quit. That's what matters." We sat there in silence, watching the flames. That trip home did something to me. Reminded me where I came from. Reminded me that I wasn't some broken outsider trying to break into their world. I already had a world. A solid one. Honest. Rough around the edges, sure, but mine. I'd let the Prescotts make me feel like I was less than, like I needed them to legitimize my life. But sitting on that old couch, listening to my mom tell stories and my dad grumble about gas prices, I realized, screw that. They didn't build me. My family did. That was the reset I didn't know I needed. Back in Austin, things kept moving. My business hit new highs. I started consulting for other property investors, helping them avoid the dumb mistakes I'd made early on. I even got invited to speak at this entrepreneur panel for veterans. I was nervous as hell, but I got up there, told my story raw, no polish, no BS, just the truth. And afterward, this kid, barely 22, fresh out of the Marines, came up and said, "Man, I thought I was the only one who felt like that. Like, people look at you like you're dangerous or dumb, not worth trusting." I looked him dead in the eye and said, "Yeah, that's exactly how they looked at me, until I bought the building they used to ignore me in." He laughed. We talked for an hour, swapped info, still keep in touch. That right there, that made all the crap I went through feel worth it. Because it wasn't just revenge anymore, it was redemption. Not just for me, but for anyone who's ever been underestimated, side-eyed, dismissed. Rachel and I were still close. We kept it chill friends who'd been through hell together. But the tension was there, that unspoken maybe. Some nights we'd hang out at my place, drink bourbon, talk trash about our old lives, then fall asleep on opposite ends of the couch. Other nights, she'd stay a little longer. One evening, we were watching a dumb cooking show, laughing at the judges, and she just turned to me and said, "You know they still talk about you like you're some con man, right?" I shrugged. "Let them—" "No," she said, serious now. "I mean it. They need you to be the villain, because otherwise they'd have to admit they were the ones who blew it." She leaned in closer. "But I saw it. You tried. You loved her. You built something real. And they tried to tear it down. You didn't just survive it, you outgrew them. That scares people." I didn't respond. I couldn't. I was too busy trying not to fall apart in front of her. Because she was right. And then, one random Thursday morning, I got a letter. A real letter. Like, in the mail, no return address, just my name, scrawled in familiar handwriting. It was from Emily. 2 pages. Sloppy writing. Some coffee stain on the edge. I opened it slowly, heart thudding. She said she was sorry. Said she got caught up in a world that looked shinier than it was. Said she never meant to hurt me, but she wasn't strong enough to stand up to her parents. There was some BS in there too. Excuses. Half-truths. The kind of stuff people say when they still can't admit how calculated they were. But buried in the middle, one line hit me in the gut. I thought you needed me to be somebody I wasn't, and I thought I needed you to become someone you weren't. It wasn't enough to fix anything, but it was honest. And for a brief moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Not anger, not grief. Just closure. I burned the letter. Not out of hate, just as a ritual. I didn't need her words sitting in a drawer somewhere. I'd lived it. I'd learned from it. And now I was finally done. Not like screw her done, not like revenge fantasy done. Just done. Whole. Clear. Free. I started spending more time at the cabin. No Wi-Fi, spotty cell signal, just the lake, the trees, the sound of bugs and birds and the wind moving like time forgot about it. I'd wake up with the sun, make eggs, go for hikes, read weird philosophy books I never had time for. Write. Sometimes Rachel would visit, sometimes not. But I was good either way. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't waiting for the other shoe to drop. No drama, no strings, no masks. Just me, alive.